Welcome back to this week's episode of Daydreamers Club. Today I am here with Kyle Williams. He is one of the co-founders of Clover Trading, and I'm so excited to have you here today. Thank you for taking the time. He actually lives in San Diego too, so it's really awesome to have you here. If you want to give us like a little intro about what it is that you do.
Yeah, I'm with a company called Clover Trading, and we essentially teach people how to day trade. The way I think of it is like they are, and Clover Trading is almost my second job, I would say. The first job is aligned, they're both aligned, but the first one is I'm just a day trader. Like when people ask me what I do,
Incredible.
I'm a day trader, I trade stocks. And that kind of all started in college. So actually at this June, well, this already passed, was a full 9 years. So we're going on year 10.
Of full-time day trading?
Since I've started. I went full-time 2019.
Okay.
So we'll say six of those years.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and so those two are aligned. So I have to obviously day trade for a living, and that actually makes most of my money. But then it's parallel because I can't really teach if I can't teach trading if I also don't do the trading myself. And so they're just parallel with each other. And, we have like an online community who teaches people how to learn and do those things. And as I do it myself. So
yeah. Okay. So for day trading, I guess explain a little bit about what it is that you do on a daily basis, because obviously there's like normal stock trading. I'm not super versed when it comes to stocks in general, I feel like. So yeah, kind of, I guess, explain that for the people.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm not say most, but like if you have a corporate job, right, they're going to give you a 401k or some kind of retirement vehicle where, you'd put money into it, you'd invest for 40, 50 years, and then hopefully you retire off that money, right? Very passive. You barely ever touch it. My kind of trading, that's really investing, right? I'm more trading, whereas I am not looking to invest in any company and hold it long term. I am simply looking at, any level of stock or company in the stock market and solely trading it just to make money. It's kind of one of those things where when I was trying to find what I wanted to do, I never wanted to just say I want to just make money. I wanted to find like the passion. It just was so funny that the passion was managing and using money to make
making
money.
money.
Yeah, it became. Once I realized that, I was like, oh, I just like the game of like adding up those numbers and like creating something out of making more value out of that value to begin with, right?
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what it is, where I don't need to know, if you're investing in Apple, you probably want to know, like, how many iPhones are they selling? Are their revenues growing? Are they going to be around in 30 years? Most people would think so because Apple's huge. But for me, I don't have to do any of that. It's very technical based, meaning it's not fundamentals, which is I don't need to know the sales. Like I said, I don't need to know if their revenue is growing or how many products they sell. I can trade a stock almost not even knowing the name. I just need to know it exists and it looks this certain way and it's got this kind of indicators behind it. And I either can buy it or sell it. And based on how you buy or sell it, depends on whether you make or lose money.
And so a lot of it is like reading the charts and forming the pattern from it. Yep. And so what were you going to college for?
I originally was a mechanical engineering major.
Okay.
I really didn't know what I wanted to do, but that's what my dad was a mechanical engineer. And I've always been good at math. So it was like, why not I just go with what I know I'll be strong with in terms of topics or subjects. But after freshman year, I knew really quickly that's like not what I wanted to do.
Right.
It just was a matter of, okay, well, what do I want to do? Like, what do I change my major to? Because I didn't want to change it like 7 times and just keep putting myself back and back. So originally it was mechanical engineering. And then the summer of my freshman year is when I watched a movie called The Big Short. And so for those who don't know, in 2008, there was this massive, like they call it the financial crisis, where all these homes and really all over the country were very overvalued homes, like houses. And essentially all of them dropped in massive value. The stock market dropped like 50% in like a year or two. Very sad times for people who were investing, right? A lot of people lost their jobs, a lot of people lost money. And then they made a movie about it. And so I watched that movie and it pretty much just like hit me in the face. Like, this happened. Like I think it was 12 at the time, 10. So I had I was totally oblivious to the actual, consequences of this. And I watched that movie and it opened my world to investing in the stock market, the economy. And that's what led to me realizing like this is a route I want to take, which then immediately took me away from mechanical engineering. I switched my major to finance. I graduated with a bachelor in finance, although the degree really didn't help me with trading at all.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you felt like that was a necessary part.
No, I mean, it certainly made my life easier in terms of learning to trade. If I had to learn to trade and stay with a mechanical engineering major based on how hard it was, it would have been very difficult. Whereas switching to finance in college, I wouldn't say easier, but it gave me more time to actually do what I wanted to do.
Figure it all out. So, okay, so like kind of growing up, you didn't really ever feel like you had a path, but it wasn't until like your college years that you're like, wait a minute, this is something that I actually like to do.
Yeah.
So when you started doing it, what kind of like made you realize like, wait, this is something that I could actually do on a daily basis? Like, was there like a moment that's like, this is really happening? Like I'm actually making money?
Yes and no. So there was like two parts. The first, when I first discovered like that trading was an actual thing, like because I watched like back to that movie, I watched the Big Short movie, and I still didn't get what they were doing. I was like, I knew they were making money, but I didn't understand that they were trading. I was so new at it, I didn't even understand the concept of trading until I kept Google searching, and then I discovered, oh, like they are like I didn't even know the word. I was like, oh, trading, like that's a thing. So that's when I knew people were doing it and were making a living doing it. But once it became a reality for me that, oh, I can actually do this for a living. Gosh, I mean, at least a couple of years in of doing it, like I knew it was possible, but until it kind of hit me personally, in the face of like, you were actually making it happen. Yeah, definitely. I started in mid-summer of 2016. It wasn't until 2018 and 2019 when I fully quit my part-time job to actually make a full-time living out of it, where I was like, okay, this is it. I'm making that jump. That's so actually cool. It. Yeah.
What was that moment like for you when you're like, okay, I'm gonna take that leap of faith. I'm gonna choose myself. I'm gonna believe in myself.
Yeah.
Screw this degree.
Well, it's one funny story about that, but it at first was a little bit nervous, but I think I did it the best way possible, which was like a big factor that most people don't think about when they are doing trading or they start trading is like, you have to separate the money in your mind. So like, it's whether I spend money on buying, a nice dinner or I spend money on a stock to make money. Like it's both, it is all money, but to, I think, do it successfully, I have to almost mentally divide the two, right? Where the money in my account to trade with, to work with, is not money I can live off of, like even close, right? And that's a big mistake people make. And I teach this all the time to new beginners is like, they're like, yeah, I only have $2,000 in my account and that's my next month's rent money. It's like, that's the recipe for disaster.
That feels scary.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
It should be, exactly. And so I tell people like all the time, like, unless this is money you absolutely can just watch go poof, like don't even bother, right? And so when I first started, when I first went full time and realized like, okay, this is it. I have no other income but this.
Wow.
It was in a good position because one, I was still in college, and I was still living at home. So my expenses were probably the lowest they were ever going to be.
Yeah.
And I made sure I didn't quit until I made more in 1 month than I made all year at my part-time job.
Oh my gosh.
So it was becoming so overwhelming where it was like I could just pull out my entire month's worth of profit this month and then I'm good for like an entire year.
That's incredible.
So I had such a cushion and such low expenses that like, if anything was stressful, this is how I can like just take that first step and not feel so overwhelmed from the beginning.
That is like amazing. I bet it must have been like, I feel like almost in a way where if you do have that much money and you've worked so hard for a year, it's like, oh my gosh, like I'm actually doing this. This is really becoming my reality. What do you feel like has maybe been like, well, actually, let me ask you this, because I feel like with stocks and stuff, kind of how you were saying, like, you're like, I watched that movie, but I still didn't really understand. What would be like something you would want to tell people to be like, to help them understand stocks and trading maybe a little bit more?
How it works, yeah. For beginners, yeah. So
for me, I'm like, I want to do this.
Yeah. Little bit of a history lesson. So pre-internet, right? Trading and investing in the stock market have been around for arguably hundreds of years. And beforehand, it was done physical, like over paper. So like for those who don't know what a stock is, it's a representation of a company. Right. And there are public stock and private stock. Private, you and I being like retail, we can't touch that. We can't get into that. But if a company is public, like Apple or Tesla or Amazon, anyone can open up a brokerage account and now own a portion of that company.
Okay.
Even if it's super small.
Yeah.
So you can buy one share of Apple and it means you own 0.00001% of Apple. But it's still there. No one's going to deny you that you don't own that share.
Right.
Pre-internet, you physically owned a piece of paper and it said like, this is one share.
Oh, that's crazy.
It's a full
I
like
didn't know
9
that.
by 11.
Yeah.
Yeah, like this is a share. And so pre-internet, that's what you do. You'd walk up to like a bank, but it would be a broker's office or broker's, place. And you would buy and sell shares to the broker, right? And so whatever the price of that stock was dictated whether you made or lost money. So if you bought Apple stock and you wanted to buy one share of Apple stock for, let's say, $100. So that one share is worth $100. And in 2 years from now, it's worth $120. If you bought it at 100 and sold at 120, you technically made $20 on that, that trade or that buy and sell. And so some people do that over their entire retirement lifetime, right? Over 40 years. I do it in a matter of minutes to hours.
Okay.
Right. So I might be buying a stock that's $1 and in an hour it's going to be $150. And so I'm going to make $50 on that difference. Right. So that's the most basic, simple way to think about it.
Okay. Okay. That's really cool. Yeah. So day trading is like a smaller scale because it's more like in and out during the day. And then other people might invest like long term with stocks. Got it. I feel like I should know more of this, but it's one of those things that like they don't really teach you that in school.
They don't, and they should.
They should. I feel like I was not versed on stocks or really anything until like this last year, and I'm like, why don't more people talk about this or like know about it?
When I was learning about trading, as I was going through it, and then also going through college, I was like, this could be a 4-year degree, but like no 4-year degree offers this structure of class the way I'm learning it, because it's very I don't say unorthodox, but it's like, and I'm not taboo, but no one.
That's what I was gonna say. I was like, I feel like stocks or like trading, it always feels very taboo.
Because there is a level of inherent risk that like a college maybe taking the risk to set up a degree to teach people how to trade comes with a level of risk that like it wouldn't. No university want to stick their neck out of like, yeah, we're going to teach you to take these massive levels of risk per se, because there is such a dynamic to it where there's a lot of unknown, there's a lot of uncertainty, but there is a lot of uncertainty with starting any business. It's just that maybe business is more ingrained in like the traditional sense of like you can start a business and be successful. It's very hard to start trading and be like the odds are. It's a common stat that like 90% of people will lose money. Wow. And even if you're in that top 10%, that doesn't necessarily mean you can live off that money. It's usually like the top like 5 to 1% actually can then do it and then survive on it. So maybe that's why but it's like taboo would be a word that like it's just not taught.
Do you feel like it has like changed your relationship with money or like how you view money is doing this?
Yes. Positively and negatively. So positively would be in the sense that it's helped me do my job better. Like I've been able to separate, like I said before, separate that money from what I'm spending on things and what I am actually using it for to grow the business or use it in the business of trading. But negatively, it's hurt me in the sense that it's very easy to lose sight of the value of that money, right? So like, for example, and I actually talked about this with my students in our chat room one day. I took a really good trade. I made really good money and everyone was congratulating me like, oh my gosh, that's so awesome. And I was like, and I kind of not dumbed it down, but I dimmed it down and said, that's great guys, but like, let's keep in mind that was someone's salary, right? It might not be much, but it's like, or not even salary, but like, I just made that money, but like I have a buddy who has to work 3 months for that. And I just made that in 3 hours.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you have to remind yourself of that, especially when you lose that money. Like there's been times where I'll take a bad loss or I go through a rough patch. And then I look at that, I actually look at the numerical value of that money loss. And I was like, I could have just pulled that out and bought myself a car or like put that in my savings, right? So that would hurt. Yeah. The real world value that you have to unfortunately separate to be good at it, but have to also keep yourself in tune with it is like super important. And it's a constant battle of reminding yourself of that. So
yeah, because I feel like in a lot of jobs where you're like an entrepreneur, like doing all that stuff and you're kind of like working for your money, it's like a way to validate that you're doing a good job. So I imagine like on the days where you are having these like really big losses, it's like,
oh, it sucks. Yeah, that
hurts because I'm sure it's more than like the average, like, oh, I just lost $50 or $100. Like I'm sure it's a lot more than that. And so at what point so you're doing day trading, when did you decide that you want to start like teaching people how to do it?
I remember the first time I really started, maybe I didn't even know I was teaching, but I started actually doing it. I started making videos on YouTube in 2019. And at the time, I didn't view it as teaching. I was just sharing my experience maybe online. And then by like 2021 was the moment where I realized like I should probably pass it on. Like because again, I didn't learn for myself. I also had joined an online community that I had paid to be in. I was like a subscription service that also then taught me how to trade and do it successfully. So like I started viewing it as like passing the baton along. Like I am someone who is able to do it successfully, and I'm passionate about talking to people about it.
Yeah.
And I'm doing it. I'm already doing it. Like I'm not like retiring from trading.
Right.
Let's just keep doing it and like pass on that baton. So yeah, I guess technically since 2021, 2022, I've been in some shape or form a teacher. But Clover wasn't started until December 2022.
Okay.
So been doing a couple of years for that.
Let me look at okay, we're good there. What has been one of like the hardest things that you've kind of had to learn since doing day trading and working for yourself or even teaching people? Has there been like a moment where you're like, okay, this was like a tough lesson to learn?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. More and more to count. I mean, I'm thinking about the first one that pops in my head is back to that separation of the two is like not falling, what's the word? And this is specifically true for day trading because it's a big deal, but not falling victim to the like lifestyle inflation, right? Like, and you'll hear it with like lottery winners all the time, right? Someone wins lottery, and they just went from maybe making 80,000 a year to having $80 million in the bank, and they think they can buy the whole world, and they do, right?
Yeah, and then they're broke like a year later.
Exactly. And so obviously trading is not that big of a difference. But I've seen many traders before, and I've caught myself doing it before, where it's like you have a really good year and you want to buy everything under the sun. And then next year it's not so great. And you're like, wait a second, I have all these monthly payments on maybe a car or this new house I bought or this nice jewelry that I bought. And you're like, oh wait, I don't actually want these things anymore, or I can't actually afford these things anymore. So where it then goes back to that example of like, are you trading with next month's rent money? Like, did you expand your lifestyle so much and then not have a good year the next year to where you're like, oh crap, I can't sustain this. And so like a big thing is live like well below your means. And either that or create a separate income that replaces trading. Like, that's a big thing I want to do. Like, yes, I teach and yes, I make an income off that, but it really has never been significant enough to replace my trading or really replace my lively expenses. It helps.
Yeah.
But it doesn't.
It's a little bonus, but it's not.
It doesn't support me, right? I still have to trade to live. But a big thing I've wanted to do going forward is to invest in other things that are completely separate from trading that eventually can fully support my life to where then my trading money is truly like, I don't want to say it's not free money, but then I don't fall to that lifestyle inflation. Like I could spend whatever I make because I have other things that truly cover like the baseline expenses of life. You know?
And when you say invest, you mean like in stocks or like in other projects? I
would like to do it in specifically other projects to try to be more diversified from just me being in the stock market, right? Because as much as I do day trade, a lot of long-term investments that I have seen happen or are seen taking place can mold or shift in the same manner, but just obviously on a 10-year scale versus a 10-hour scale. So of course, yes, I think I'll eventually have a portion that are in long-term investing, but I also want to diversify it even more, like outside the stock market entirely. So yeah.
I love that. What does a day in your life look like? Are you doing this like every day? From sun up to sundown?
Some days, yes. So the market is open Monday through Friday. Is technically the hours from 9:30 Eastern to 4 p.m. Eastern. So yes, I am doing that Monday through Friday. So I'm on the West Coast where it's 3 hours sooner or earlier. So I am waking up at like 5:30.
Oh God.
To prep for the 6:30 open. And then I am there till 1 o'clock, which is nice because I'm done like half the day. But I then do work until 2 p.m., 3 p.m. some days. And then I also like doing like a 30-minute to an hour prep session for the day, for the next day. Right. So like I'll wake up 5:30, immediately at my desk. I don't even eat breakfast. Like I just brush my teeth, get dressed, and I'm at my desk.
Gotta have protein or something. Coffee?
I unintentionally intermittent fast.
Oh.
So I've never cared about intermittent fasting. I don't care about the benefits. I never looked into how to do it correctly. I am just waking up at 6:30 or 5:30, and I'm not really eating until like 9 or not even 9, like sometimes 11 or 12.
That stresses me out.
I'm not hungry. I just kind of start and I get,
You're locked in.
Yeah. And I just don't, I forget to eat. And my wife ends up making me food sometimes to remind me to eat.
She's the nicest person I've ever met.
So I appreciate that.
She's
yeah.
so sweet.
But yeah, so that happens. So from then 6:30 to practically 1, I am at my desk, whether it's trading, whether it's answering emails, doing webinars for Clover students, stuff like that. I'm practically there. And then from 1 to 2, I'm recapping the day. I like taking pictures of all my trades, or I'll input my trades. I have like a little journal that I like used to use to track, and like, that's kind of like my business. If you have a business balance sheet, right? Like, this is my sheet of all my trades and how I do business, kind of thing. And then after that, yeah, it's working out, it's running errands for the house, for the cats, me and my wife go on a walk, do a date, have dinner. And then by like 7, or actually it depends on, usually it's between 4 or 5, or like 7 and 8, depending on how my day looks, is when I then come back for the 30 minutes to an hour prep for the next day, and then ideally I'm done for the day.
Yeah.
And then doing other things. So
it's like it's a full day, because you really do have to be like locked in for day trading, right? Because it's very like,
yeah.
From what I can gather, my dad started doing it. I don't think he's doing well.
You're like, yeah. I mean, that's the typical natural experience. Like, if you start day trading and you make money immediately, like, I would be very concerned, because it's only a matter of time before you learn why it's so difficult. And so it's either
I think that's what happened.
It's like either learn right away, so you're like humbled quickly, like, oh, this is what that means, or this is how this goes, or the dangerous part, which I've seen happen many times, which is like someone gets very lucky early, they make a ton of money, and then they make even a bigger mistake and like give it all back and then some. Yeah. So yeah, I'd rather see the harsh reality first,
right,
before actually getting somewhere with it, versus the opposite.
Yeah,
so.
I think he like had surgery, and so he was like on pain medicine and was still trying to trade.
Okay.
And he was like in a fog, and like a week later he calls me and he was like, I don't remember doing any of those trades, and he lost so much money.
That'll do that. Yeah.
He'll kill me for saying that, but I'm like, but he's like, I'm back, and I'm like, I don't know, your whole thing stresses me out. So it's like, that's like the only knowledge I really know, like day trading. So like knowing that you're really just doing this for a living, because I've always thought of like, I don't know, it does seem like something that would just be more difficult or like harder, but it's really cool that you kind of found your passion. You're like, oh wait, this is actually what I want to do, and pivoted towards that. So whenever you decided to like pivot to finance and like day trading, how were the people in your life? Were they like supportive of you kind of going that route, or was it like, are you sure you want to be doing this?
It's a great question, because it was a little bit of both. I told a few people, but not everyone. So I told my mom. She was very supportive from the beginning, but I don't think that was like, she's my mom. She's whatever.
They're gonna be motherly.
I could tell her I want to be an astronaut, and she was gonna be, you do it, you go for it. So that was cool. I told my friends, and they were not supportive, but I think they were supportive, but I think they were supportive in the sense of like, they didn't really know what it was, and so they were like, hey, I trust you, like, just go do it.
So like, you have a good head on your shoulders. You know what you're doing.
I'm like, go after it. Yeah, they weren't going to tell me not to. The one person who was kind of like you said, of like, maybe you shouldn't, or like, let's be careful here, was my dad. Yeah. He, again, never told me not to do it, but when I was doing it, he would consider it a hobby, or he would say, that's great, but like, this isn't going to support your job or your living. I'm like 20 years old doing this, 21. And he's like, yeah, that's awesome, but like, when you graduate college, like, this is not going to make up for your real job that you're going to get.
You're like, watch me.
Yeah. And that was the motivation, which is like, he only saw me making at the time, very early stage, was like a couple $100 a month, right?
Oh.
Which is cool.
He's like, you're going to live off of this?
But yeah, he's like, that's not going to get you anywhere. And that's when I was like finding the first level of success. The first year I was losing, I think the most I lost was like $4,000.
Wow.
And some people lose much more, but I was very conservative in the beginning, because I knew how vulnerable, you could lose your money early on. So that was a good thing I did. But yeah, so he saw me only making a couple $100 a month. He's like, that's not going to do anything for
like,
you,
welcome
Kyle.
to the real world, buddy.
Yeah, exactly. But what he didn't see is the people who I was learning from, or people I was seeing on a daily basis, make it 10 grand a month, 20 grand a month. Like, they were making real world larger amounts of money. And so I knew it was possible. I just had to get to that point. And so after, I think when 2020 started, was when COVID hit. And when COVID hit, everyone got stimulus checks. Everyone who wasn't a trader became a trader. All my friends who had never traded in their life, who knew I was a trader, all of a sudden, all of them became traders, right?
Love that.
And so the market kind of got really, really just I don't want to say the word frothy, but it just got super, super exciting, right? Everyone was trading, everyone was investing. And so that really helped me knowing what I was doing. So I did make a lot of money then. And that's kind of when that was the year where I made so much that my dad like just couldn't deny it. Like, this is clearly like what you're going to do, whether I like it or not.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, it was a good feeling because it's kind of, I never like looked to prove him wrong, but that was like if there was a moment, that was it. And the biggest fear of his that he had told me later beyond the money was like, well, whether you made money or not, he was fearful that I was just going to be behind a computer screen and had no friends. Like, he knew how lonely it could be, because it can be.
Yeah.
You know, if I didn't have a community of people or people of friends that I met, I mean, you genuinely could just do it yourself, never talk to anybody, and just be a little hermit in front of your laptop all day.
Yeah.
What he really ended up being super happy with or proud of is that it turned into so much more than that. It was like I was now going on trips with people. I was meeting friends I never had before. I'm starting businesses with these people that I've met and now teaching about it. Like, it was such a big community of collaboration that he had no idea existed. And so that was his biggest fear. And so now he couldn't be happier of how things were gone.
That is so awesome. I love that. Like, I could definitely see, like, as a dad being concerned, being like, oh my gosh, please don't wither away, especially if you're not eating breakfast. You're going to be stuck behind your computer screen. Yeah. During like the 2020 time, were you invested in like the GameStop and all of that and like the AMC?
I did trade GameStop and AMC quite often. Yes. Okay. Yes.
I remember I bought a few shares. I don't think I did much with it. It was like I was at the tail end. I'm trying to learn all this.
Yeah, that was kind of the peak euphoric times where like and there's yet to be something like that since, where I remember. It's one thing for me to trade and like talk to my friends, but then it's another thing to me like look on social media and like gather like a level of sentiment around things. I had never seen so many people involved in one stock in one moment. I mean, everyone, the whole world was watching GameStop.
That was crazy.
And it was really cool to be a part of, because I did trade it quite a few times.
Yeah, I know someone who became a millionaire from that.
Really?
Yeah. But I'm wondering, kind of in the same like the whole lottery thing, like, is he back at work now? Because that was a while ago.
Sure. I mean, yeah. So I've heard many.
Wonder where he is now.
I've heard many stories, and I actually knew someone personally who was not a trader, but was a very good gambler. I mean, very good. Like we would go to the casino as buddies in high school, going into college, and like he would just walk away somehow making money. It was one of those things that I could never get it. And so he was one of those people where COVID started, and all of a sudden he's a trader, and he did make. I think he did also become a millionaire. But I haven't talked to him in a few years, but I've heard through friends of friends that like, yeah, he has to work for whatever reason, whether he lost it, whether he just spent it, stuff like that. I've heard other stories where people were investors and they just happened to own a few companies that went up so much that they thought they knew it all, but then didn't ever sell or just didn't do anything with it, and then it gave it all right back, which is a very commonality thing. Like, even if you are investing, the toughest part about trading, just the whole finance world in general, is like, how do you then realize that value? Like, it's one thing to make a good investment, and yeah, you have that money, but unless you plan on actually doing something with it, it could be given all right back. And now if you own very legit companies, then that's going to be a retirement when you're 65 or something like that, right? But I've just heard so many stories of COVID where people were very rich on paper, but then if you held on too long, you quickly realize that was just a short window in time. So yeah, crazy stuff.
Yeah, you really have to like stay humble with it and like not get too crazy. Okay, this is a very like me question. When you're trading, if you're doing any like not day trading, do you ever notice that the trades and stuff, it changes with like the moon cycle? Have you noticed that? Is that a thing?
It's interesting you asked that, because I have never looked into that. However, there is someone, and I don't remember her name, but I know she's out there. She trades and invests based on that.
Okay.
I remember seeing her profile on X years ago, but like totally making calls and making investment
Was she like
decisions.
a redhead? I think
maybe. I don't remember what she looked like. I just know her posts on X got popular because there was one call she made and like she crushed it.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So I do know that exists. I've never looked into it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was hoping you'd be like, yeah, I do trade with the moon cycle. Yeah, I'm like, get on it. No, just kidding. No, I think I know who you're talking about, because I think that's kind of how I had heard of it before.
Oh, okay.
And so I was like wondering, I'm like, I wonder if he like is into that. But I think also it's just reading patterns. Like, you're constantly like reading the patterns of everything.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, so much of it is human psychology. Like, I know of a trader who solely invests on from social media data. So
Oh.
like and I don't know him personally, I just know of him, but he will look at trends, and I actually will appreciate this. He invested in it's gonna bug me now the name of the stock, but he invested of the parent company of Labubu
Okay.
because he saw how hot they were.
I wish I would have. I think about that now because I keep seeing like the stocks and stuff, and I'm like, I wish I would have known to like invest in that. Yeah, Pop Mart.
So Pop Mart.
Yeah.
So I don't know if he still owns it or not, but he looks at stuff like that. Like if he knows there's like a terrible tornado season in the Midwest, he will then start looking at the biggest home builders and stuff like that. Like he will he scours TikTok. So like there's so many different angles to it. Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta be chronically online for that one.
He's online all the time. Yeah.
Okay. Final few questions. So if someone like average Joe wants to get into day trading, do you feel like they need to have like a certain amount of money to start with, or like what would that look like?
Yeah, good question. There's no right answer, but I'll give a few scenarios or like examples of where you'd want to like lie in. The first one is that I don't think you want to be in is like, yeah, I've got $50.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, you could dabble, like you could certainly open up like a Robinhood account. They'll take your $50 and you can maybe buy one stock, right? But that's going to be difficult to ever grow or do anything with. On the flip side, though, I've met many people who maybe are well off from their job, or maybe they've been working for 20 years and are a little bit older and have a ton saved. And they're like, yeah, I want to start trading with $100,000. And I'm like, well, you don't need that either, right? The analogy I like to use for when you first start learning is like, you don't have to... You can learn the same lesson as someone else with way significantly less money. And the way I like to say it is like, you could go to some Ivy League or private college and learn accounting for $100,000 a year, right? Or you can go to some state college and learn accounting for $30,000 a year. Both expensive, but like, yeah, maybe the Ivy League has connections to the best, firms, but either way, you're not learning $70,000 more worth of accounting. There's still a diploma that says accounting, right? So that's kind of the same thing. Like you can take the same trade as someone who has $10,000 and someone who has $100,000. Both might lose the equivalent amount, but if it's the same lesson, why would I only want to lose $100 and learn a lesson versus losing thousands?
That makes sense.
So for me, I first started trading with $6,000. I think that was a good enough amount. So like 50's too little, even 1,000's pretty small, but I don't think you need to start with 20, 30, 40, somewhere in the 15 to 5 range is maybe safe. You can do 2 or 3 on the low end, but somewhere in there I think is a good starting amount for sure.
Yeah, that makes sense because I feel like 50, it's like, okay, I maybe made $100 and then that would just take a while. Well, if you have anything that you want to plug or where we can find you, just let us know your Instagram.
Yeah. So on Twitter is probably Twitter's very popular for traders, or X. Social media are on Instagram, not so much. But Twitter is @TraderKyleC. And then for Clover, if someone actually wanted to like learn about what we do at Clover, on YouTube, it's Clover Trading. The website is clovertrading.io. And we do like live streams on YouTube. We do a bunch of free videos. So like by no means does anyone have to sign up. We do a ton of free stuff, just people to learn for free. And yeah, that's where you can find me. Yeah.
Awesome. Maybe I'll go check it out and
there you go.
Start learning all this. Thank you so much for being here today. I appreciate it.
Of course.
Woo.
Thank you.